Journeys Ahead, Beyond Trilogy, Part 2, Chapter 7, Fallen Angel. Written and narrated by T.S. ProArt. With a loud and mechanical churn, a pair of two massive bronze doors open themselves wide. With mechanical clicks and flips, these hard steel plates shifted apart and then back together before collecting to the slots of each door side. Standing behind it within the cold, artificial night was Void and the others, now alongside Vode, who is front and center. Welcome to my home. Please, make yourselves comfortable and follow me. The yellow spark stated as a golden star portal faded from behind. Taking their first few steps inside, Void and the rest were taken aback, for this home of Vode's was actually a large mansion in truth. Along the floors were long, stretched out red and striped carpets that were above marble white and yellow patterned floors. Golden walls went up and down in wide segments, while silver pillars designed to look akin to Roman architecture sealed the floors and ceilings away from one another, as they buzzed and flashed with lemon-shaded interior lights. Before them, two massive staircases led up to an upper floor that was nearly scraped by a massive chandelier above. Hallway balconies stretched all the way back into the other rooms above, making the front foyer a beautiful sight. There were even little robotic plants placed along the walls. Nice crib, Joby complimented as they all maneuvered their way towards a door in between the two staircases. Thank you. I built it myself, Vode revealed with a smile as he opened the door and walked through. Come, this way. Dining room is up ahead. Now entering a rounded roof hall, Void and the others took notice that the ceiling was made of a thick orange-tinted glass, and above it was water filled with fish. Robot fish, to be exact. You built all this? Jida inquired as they passed Renaissance-looking paintings of even more robots. Yep. Built my home and this entire city. I built all of it with just my bare hands, Vode revealed to everyone's sudden and disbelief surprise. What? You built this city? Pofnu asked with a stunned look as they all passed a maidbot carrying a bucket and a mop. Yes, ma'am. The city, the robots, the vehicles, the laws, all of it. Neo Salvaheim is just the culmination of my mind and desire to innovate and create, Vode explained with a deeper and more stern tone as he stopped and opened the door to a very fancy-looking dining room. That's hard to believe, even for an inventor like myself. What's your name again, friend? T asked as everyone approached a beautiful gold table that was surrounded in a shiny art decor. Vode Starwatcher. And you don't need to introduce yourselves. I caught the whole broadcast information before coming to your aid. Again, my sincerest apologies. Snapping his fingers, Vode slid out several seats that were accompanied by tea and cake appearing upon the table, having been brought up through a small levitation pad below the table's golden confines. Please, sit. Let's discuss. You must be here for a reason. Reflections always have them, Vode inquired as he sat alongside the others, creating a massive round table that one would see akin to the medieval days. Oh, you're so generous. Thank you. Tiger herself with a smile as she eyed down a delicious-looking piece of jello cake. It's the least I could do after what you all went through. Showstopper was never always like that. But I'll explain it later. This isn't about me, Vode stated before taking in a short and collective breath. Please, tell me, what brings you all here to Neo Salvaheim? It's been a long time since I've seen living faces. The yellow spark wanted to know as he leaned forward and rested his chin upon two conjoined hands. After settling in, both Void and Jida eyed Starwatcher before explaining what they had done so before. It's a situation involving our boy Jay, Void began as both him and Jida held hands atop the table. 2 years ago, he fought back against a terrible threat, a foe that we once thought to have defeated. Our son is a being of great power, you see, an unknown power. Void went on as he took out Odin's book and slid it over the Vode, who snapped his fingers and levitated the item upwards. He unleashed a power that not only saved us, but got himself trapped with the enemy in a place no natural beings can reach, even for reality travelers such as ourselves. The spark explained as he projected the hologram of Jay's sacrifice for a third time. Looking up with a curious one-eyed stare, Vode watched the scene play out, but immediately fell to shock as to what he had been seeing. Akira's might! He's in the beyond? The spark suddenly exclaimed in shock as he dropped the book and sat upright. Stopping in cold silence, everyone turned towards Vode with confused eyes before Void asked a simple, You know this? Standing up and watching the scene, Vode held the look of someone in absolute shock. His face said it all. It looked as though he had seen something such as this before, and not in a good light. Buddy, you okay? Vivian questioned as she tilted her head towards the highly advanced spark. I'm aware of what this is. This trapping attack, this sacrifice for the greater good. I know this. Walking around the table, Vode continued to watch the scene play out, Lois and Jay intertwined till disappearing from view. The way the scene reflected in his golden eye oval, it truly gave the impression of something deep within. Your boy is trapped, and you have come to seek out my help. Is this correct? Vode speculated as he turned back the Void and Jida, who stood to their feet with saddened stares. Yes. We are here to ask you for your aid. There's a ritual, a spell of reflections that can transport us all into a higher plane. Void stated as he and Vivian stood as well. He sought us out as well, needing our help. T elaborated while taking off his hat and holding it to his chest. His son means the world to him. I initially didn't want to join, but it's up to you whether or not you'd be up for it. Vivian added as Vode looked to the others. Pofnu, Joby, and Tiger all stared upon his golden glowing form with curious and hopeful stares, while Vode himself let the gears within his mind just turn. Millions of years ago, I had a friend gifted with similar abilities to your boy. Abilities that she used in all the wrong ways. Sitting down, Vode took in a deep breath and eyed all of his guests before continuing on with his sudden story. She was once kind, caring, but after discovering her full potential, she had grown tyrannical, cruel with power. What I had once seen to be as my sister in arms quickly became an unstable force that ravaged my world. With intrigued eyes, Void and the others watched as Vode's own twinkled with sorrow. It was a flicker of regret, a stutter of dismay, a stare of a burdened soul. Our fight ravaged the lands, destroying everything I once loved so dear. To stop her, I had to reverse course her trapping beam upon her own soul. Using some portal trickery, I was able to get my old friend entangled, and in turn, got her soul trapped up there. Vode said while pointing towards the ceiling. But all that was left in the end was nothing. The words Vode shared were that of a quiet man, someone who had already learned to cope with the pain, a pain that had never left, one that left everyone in silence. In shame and regret for being unable to save my home, people I loved. I retreated to this empty space, this nothing reality, and began to construct my own world, a recreation of my fallen Savaheim, a fake Savaheim. Vode revealed as his crest presented a yellow blueprint of the city that in truth had just been a bubbled off chunk of metal drifting in the abyss of nothing, a reality where there was nothing to be, except for this one construction piece. This entire city and its people were created as a means to help me cope. But over time, it took on a life of its own. The AI became aware, some properly and mindfully functional, others not so much. Showstopper. It left me as a ruler or operator. I don't know. Look, the point is that I know what the beyond is, and I understand the pain of loss and where it can lead people. Void stated before closing the blueprint and standing back to his feet, proceeding to then slide the book back over the void. But I must ask, out of the endless sea of variants in the great omniverse, why me? He questioned while looking back to everyone in the room with a boasting stare. Random chance, in all honesty. We shattered open a mirror space realm and it led us to you. Void replied as he approached and locked his eyes with Void. I'm sorry for what happened to you. I can't imagine what that must have been like. So as I've already said to the other reflections in this room, you don't have to tag along. We can always find someone else if you're not up to the course. We did just kind of barge in after all. Void said with a tiny chuckle before feeling Void's hand resting atop his shoulder. I will admit, the proposition is rather sudden and tricky with my own soul. But I understand the pain of losing someone you love, and the great lengths you would go to try and restore something. Give me some time to think about it. If you so wish, you can all rest here for the night. Void replied, giving Void some hope to finally getting his goose chase over with. Thank you, Void. Void thanked as everyone slowly returned back to their seats. Excuse me, Mr. Void. If you don't mind me asking, who was this friend that turned on you? Jida questioned with a nervous tone, leaving the yellow spark to stare with his golden gaze, a gaze that was carefully choosing its words. Let's just say you look rather similar. The spark revealed, leaving the room to fall silent, and for Jida to just stare with a concerned and mind-numb-filled eyes. I hate it, Blue! I hate it! I hate that I'm feeling like this! Jida complained with a worried stutter to her throat as she paced around a nice little bedroom that Void had offered the married pair a small while earlier. Freckles, sweetheart. Void tried to reason as he stood from the bed and approached his wife, who was now clutching her head with glowing blue hair. No, this is 3 times now where we found a version of yourself that has a variant of me who's either dead or had bad stuff happen to them. That's 3 for 3 and who knows how many more. I'm freaking out over here. Jida worriedly explained while hyperventilating. Am I doomed for some kind of fate? Will I turn evil? Will you and our kids be left alone? What's gonna happen to me? Jida rambled on as Void approached and embraced his wife, holding her close while even rubbing her hair. Nothing is gonna happen to you. You hear me? Nothing is gonna happen. Void gently spoke as Jida's legs began to slip out from under her feet. Nothing will happen. There is an endless sea of yous out there who most certainly live out happy and full lives. It's just a coincidence, okay? It's gonna be okay. Void muttered as both him and Jida collapsed upon the bed, side by side, in an awkward lay-down position. I'm so tired, Blue. And it's not the tired sleep's gonna fix. Jida vented as Void continued to stroke her cosmic-colored hair. Our baby, he's alone. I can feel him out there. He's scared. I can sense him through my fire. He's so scared, Void. But I can't talk to him. I can't reach him because of how far he is. Jida whimpered as her eyes spilled with tears. Every night I'm plagued with the same dream, the same nightmare, that we would find him dead or worse, changed. That now added with this terrible thought of my own demise. I swear to God, I'm losing it. I'm freaking losing it. Leaning forwards, Void pulled Jida close and ignited his body into a warm blue glow that engulfed her trembling body into a well-needed comfort. You're not losing it. You're just scared. And it's okay to be scared. Void gently whispered as he pressed his forehead against hers. You and I are one and the same, you know? Orphaned by tragedies, taking up the responsibility that should have never been. Coming out on top each time we've been over this. Void expressed as he carefully wiped a streaming tear off Jida's face. But we gotta stay strong. We're so close, so close to getting him home. Looking up with her orange flares slowly returning, Jida leaned down and snuggled herself into Void's arms, while even resting her head upon his glowing blue shoulder. I know, but it's been hard to keep the weights up. She replied, while feeling a deep sense of sleep beginning to wash over her body. I know it is, but we've made it this far. We can't crumble just yet. We gotta keep moving. Void continued to say in his little words, while the room remained lit into a calming sapphire hue from his body, and looked to even project little star particles from its shimmering glints. It's hard to believe that you've been at my side for this long. I don't know how you put up with me or why you still care. Jida asked as she and Void shifted around to lay intertwined upon their bed. You serious? You reignited my love in the life. You gave me connection when no other soul would. Void replied as he gently interlocked his fingers around Jida's. You and our kids are the greatest thing that have ever happened in my life. You're my entire world. The reason I stand on my 2 feet to this day. Void continued as his energy hummed to a beautiful, vibrating tune. I don't know what lies you feed yourself at night, love. But know the truth is that I would let myself die in order to save you if need be. You're my hero, Jida Woods. You always will be. Void finished as tears began to spill from both their eyes. I don't deserve you. The cosmic angel wept as Void gave her a small forehead kiss. You deserve everything, my sweet star. Void retorted, leaving Jida blushing through the tears. When we bring Jay home, would you like to stop at that pizza place? You know, the one where we got to know one another? Void asked as Jida finally gave a well-needed smile. That'd be nice. Yeah. She said before quietly falling asleep in an eased state. Sighing, Void leaned his head back and just stared up towards the ceiling, wondering just what the next day would bring. We're coming, buddy. Just hang on a little bit more for us. Void quietly called before closing his eyes and falling asleep himself. Opening his eyes to the darkened room, Void could have sworn that he had just heard the sound of something moving. Lifting his head up, the spark first looked to Jida and then at the darkness around him. Squinting, he gently maneuvered off Jida's teddy bear grasp and quietly stood to his feet with tense eyes. Hello? Void whispered as he turned in a full circle to his surroundings. T? Vivian? Void asked as his heart began to race. Turning to his side, Void took notice of the door had been left open a tad, gently swinging from side to side as though a gust of wind had left it ajar. What the spark asked himself as another noise came from behind. Turning around, he glared off into the far corner of the room, seeing nothing but shadows looking back at him. Squinting his eyes again, Void could have sworn he saw something move. It was stiff, but it was a familiar presence. But due to his current groggy state, he couldn't fully make it out. Joby? He asked while beginning to light himself up. As the dim blue fade filled the room, a figure suddenly lunged from the corner and rammed in the Void, pinning him to the wall and stabbing 3 cold, sharp-taloned fingers into his abdomen. Shouting in sudden pain, Void's body completely lit up, revealing his sudden attacker in full. What the? The spark shot with shock through pain as he laid his sights upon the fallen Void, still alive, and somehow managed to get in the Void's mansion.
You're mine,
he snarled as he began to twist and turn his nail-like daggers within Void, causing him to scream and shout in pain. Shooting up from the bed, Jida screamed in shock and fright to this home invader, while Void began to charge his horns in a defensive response. Jida, take cover! Void screamed as he summoned his battle mask over his wife's face in a mighty display. As it sealed, he released an energy pulse that sent both him and the fallen monster blasting through the wall, over the top balcony, and crashing into the main foyer, ending with the two of them landing hard upon the cold marble floor. Rolling backwards towards the front door, Void stood and groaned in pain. Looking down, he had the 3 puncture holes that profusely bled with blue blood, while the fallen Void suddenly recoiled himself back up to his feet like a dying spider.
No more games. I'm done playing with my food,
the monster stated as his horns glowed a purple shade, accompanied by a pair of dual mirror space blades protruding from his arms. What the hell do you want with us? Why? Why do you just keep coming back? Void asked as he awkwardly stabled himself and deployed his father's spear. Running out of their rooms from above, everyone except for Void, who was somewhere else within the mansion, gasped and set their sights upon the monster, who began to speak again.
All of you are brimming with power. Powers that can give me a boost in overtaking more resourceful worlds, bending them down to my ever-expansive hive mind.
The Fallen explained as the others above stared with widened eyes.
Like this vessel of mine, you will all fall and embrace the shadowy abyss.
The monster exclaimed while tapping his chest, shedding more light on the strange split personality they had all seen from Vivian's world. This Void, whoever he was, there was something wrong with him. Another force controlling him like a puppet on strings.
What the hell are you?
Void demanded to know, as the fallen Matterbird's visor eye bloomed to life with a burning essence.
Death,
he said, before readying his blades and sprouting 4 extra arms from out of his back. Void! Vivian shouted as she turned and aimed her frostbiter down upon her darker reflection. Whirling around with a roar, the fallen Void shot out a large strand of dark matter that quickly entangled itself around Vivian's neck.
not this time.
The control being bellowed before whipping Vivian around and smashing her through one of the pillars and launching the poor spark in the void, sending the two of them crashing backwards in a violent display. Holy shit! Joey screamed as she and the others quickly leapt into action. Using his 4 lanky matter arms, the darker void crawled and slipped away like a jumping spider, as Joby, Pawvnu, T, and Tiger all landed down side by side, ready to fight, while Jida warped out of the room to the balcony, overlooking the scene with widening eyes behind the mask. Cackling, the shadowed spark smashed his arms to the ground, causing an uprising of matter spikes akin to Kor's attack from when he fought Void. Dodging, the 4 leapt away while Jida jumped down with a painstaking kick to the monster's head. Recoiling around, the The Shadow twisted his upper torso into a full 360 spin before slashing Jida right across her stomach, giving her 3 deep cut wounds from his claws. Shouting in pain, the musician stumbled backwards before getting roundhouse kicked into the wall by the beast.
Foolish, just like the others,
he croaked as T's axe was suddenly flung through the air from his side. Without even having to look, the fallen void reached a hand out and caught the weapon by its handle, proceeding to then slowly glare upon the Matterbirth, who stood beside Tiger. Oh shit. He quickly cursed. Whirling, the monster chucked the weapon right back at T with such force that both him and Tiger just barely dodged, only getting slashed upon their backs before the weapon lodged into the wall.
What fun! What disastrous fun!
The beast croaked as he turned and eyed the next few attackers that approached. Deploying their weapons, Joby and Pavnu entered a tag team sister battle stance as they both slashed and dashed, attempting to take out the monster. However, he just dodged and evaded with simple ease to what he considered as lower beings.
Light matter.
He croaked towards Joby before blasting Pavnu away with a Novarune shield. Turning right back around towards the Matter Girl, the monster snarled, reared his right blade back, and plunged it forwards, knocking the smaller one away and stabbing Joby right through her lower stomach. Gasping in pain, the young adult was lifted off the ground to everyone's absolute shock, while the Shadow just snarled in a deep cackle.
As always.
He barked before flinging Joby off his blade and sending her crashing into a painting that fell upon her at landfall. Upon seeing this, both Void and Jida charged up, stood, and blasted themselves forward towards the monster, who just twirled away from their combined attack. Landing back down, he stood upon the left side staircase and glared upon the reflections with an inquisitive stare.
When we're done here, I will use your cosmic essences to burn those who resist the cinders. My amelioration movement will be enacted for all.
The Shadow boasted, leaving T and Tiger to look at the beast with stunned eyes.
What?
They both said in unison. The amelioration movement. That was the faction name for their enemies during the Great Matter War. Leaping up with her tails ignited, Pavnu went to strike down upon the Shadow, but was swiftly tossed aside by an impulse from the enemy's horns. Leaping up together, both Void and Jida went to punch the monster, but it was way too fast for their own speed. Pouncing again, the fallen Void caught the married pair by their throats and chokeslammed them into the ground. Without wasting a second, the monster turned and threw the two of them where Joby had been weakly self-healing, looking to haven't even broken a sweat. The hell with this! T shouted as he summoned a Novarune to his right hand and charged with Tiger at his side. Charging right back, the two Voids raised their fists up and clashed their now summoned Novarunes together, creating an impulse of energy that sent T and Tiger flying back. Getting back up herself, Vivian aimed her Frostbiter and began to fire out pellets of ice that shot right through the monster's body. Grunting, he turned and sent all four of his back arms outwards. Before Vivian could dodge, she was grasped and yanked forwards towards the enemy. Reaching out, the monster snatched Vivian's struggling body by her face and ignited his palms to life.
Such power, but so much weakness.
He croaked as Vivian's essence was now beginning to get drained. Struggling with muffled screams, she fought and kicked, but found that her strength was starting to weaken. Her vision began to buzz. Her mind started to go blank. Was this it? She thought. Was this death? She asked herself. Before suddenly snapping back to reality and getting dropped to the ground, for the fallen Void gasped as a translucent, yellow glowing energy harpoon now jutted out from his right shoulder. Whirling his head around, the monster glared upwards to the top left-hand side of the staircase and snarled with his glowing eye. There, standing at the top with a glowing chain exiting his palm, stood Vode, with a stern and angered face on display for all to see. I take it that you aren't one of the friendly ones, he muttered as the fallen Void replied with a charge and ruby-red blast from his eye. Pulling himself forwards and dodging the blast, Vode twirled up through the air, flicked his heels together, and pencil dived upon the dark reflection, sending the two of them sprawling backwards and the others to watch in injured anticipation. Spinning his limbs around, Void punched and kicked upon the monster, who swiftly began to fight back.
Well, looks like I now have 4 to dance with.
The Shadow exclaimed as he caught Void by his hands and furiously smashed his metal mask down upon his head. Releasing a short golden pulse in response, Void launched himself backwards and away from the attacker, in turn sending all of his floating limbs scattering about. Whoa! Joby wheezed in pain, as what everyone thought to have been Void's demise had actually been a new form of attack. Rising up, all of Void's limbs suddenly transformed into weaponized drones. Wings sprouted from his forearms, legs, feet, and hands, all with a tiny blaster set emerging from below or above their builds. Landing down into his own chest cavity, the 2 wings appeared from where his shoulder joints once levitated, making Load the leading bird in a tiny firing squad of his own parts.
Oh, hell yeah! That's awesome!
T shouted as both him and Vivian leapt back into the fight, with their blades at the ready.
Have at thee!
Void cried as his now flying limbs soared and shot at the fallen being, looking akin to a swarm of attacking birds.
Working together as one, how cute!
The monster said as he now clashed his blades with both Vivian and T, while avoiding golden blaster bolts from Void.
Are you guys okay?
Tiger asked as she slid to the Novasun family's side, where Pofnu had now been helping Joby heal from her stab wound. Barely. Jida groaned, leaving Tiger to place a ghostly hand over her slash marks, and gave some of her life force to speed up the healing process. Retracting his spear, Void snapped his fingers and summoned his battle mask back over his face. The reflections needed help, and so did the monster. Void could sense it. There was someone in there, trying to fight back. Someone battling a monster that Void couldn't describe. A darkness that clouded his sensors, a being that held no light. The Spark wasn't sure if it had been possession or something far worse. Either way, he had to do something.
Stay here.
Void spoke to his girls as he watched the monster smash a metal foot down and release a red shockwave of energy, blowing both T and Vivian back, as well as making Void return to normal. Blue! Blue! Jida tried to call, but Void had already activated his blaster. Standing firm, the Spark shot out one singular charged bolt into the back of the beast, causing him to whirl and glare towards Void's stern, battle mask stare. Hey! I don't know who you are in there, or if you can even hear me, but you asked us to kill you on our last meeting. I don't know what you did to end up like this, but you gotta come back through. I can feel you in there. Void called as the beast snarled once more.
So, you're now trying to reach the pawn. How pathetic.
The monster stated, as his back sprouted hands suddenly conjoined together and created a pair of large, dark matter-looking butterfly wings that shimmered with a red wave of glimmering power.
You reflections. All of you have one thing in common. The search for the best in people. To give them another chance.
The fallen Void went on as he flapped its grotesque wings and levitated into the air.
The one you wish to reach. You can't save him. He's gone.
The monster boasted as everyone now looked up to his flying form with tired and injured eyes.
Just as you will be.
Flying forwards with a mighty flap in his wings, the fallen shadow grabbed Void by his throat, charged, and suddenly shattered through the fabric of Void's reality, and entered into the same slipstream field that Void and Jida had used to traverse between worlds through. Spinning around with the Spark clutched in his grasp, the monster swung Void to the side and smashed him against the slipstream mid-flight. Dragging him with violent force, shards of reality shattered out, cutting Void's back up in a messy and nasty way. From the Spark's chest, the mirror space's forced red electricity began to buzz and react to this in-between space attack, numbing Void and leaving him in a world of hurt. Wincing with an angered huff, the blue Spark ignited his horns, charged, and blew the beast off his body, sending the monster flying back and soaring around the reality space akin to a hungry hawk. Spiraling around himself, Void quickly deployed his metal wings and stabilized himself in a sharp blueberry-shaded ignition. Swirls of many realities twinkled as the in-between reality creatures flew and sang, while the two Voids now prepared to attack in what had essentially become a dogfight. Throwing his arms forward, Void contorted both his limbs in the blasters and began to fire upon the reflection that spun through the air and then dived downwards. Deploying his mirror space blades, the Shadow dragged them across the reality stream below his flight, in turn, charging them up with a powerful red shade. Retracting his blasters, Void activated his Nova Blades once again and deflected the clash. Yet, as the monster's weapons came down, the energy had been charged to a point that broke apart Void's blades into a powerful slashback. Whoa! Wait, listen! Void tried to reason as the fallen monster lunged forwards and stabbed his mirror space daggers through Void's entire chest. Gasping out a glob of blood, the spark didn't have time to scream, for what happened next nearly rendered him as a dead man. Breaking and shattering forwards, the Shadow flew and smashed Void through one reality glass barrier and then another, smashing and dashing Void through several worlds and mirror space-like environments. Void shouted to the pain of reality shards entering his body. From each strike, it damaged him to a battered and dented and bloody mess, while the same red essence went over his body and was practically drenched into his heart. With one more pulse, the monster shattered Void into a blood-red, watery space environment that looked almost akin to being below the seas. Spinning around, the monster flung Void off his blades and sent his weakened body floating into the liquid red reality. As he drifted away in a bloody mess, buzzes of red energy went up and down his body, while glowing shattered mirror space shards floated around him as well, zapping his body with that same energy.
All you Voids, you are all the same at heart. No matter what oath you follow, no matter what happens in your tragic little lives,
You all rely on one weakness that is disguised as strength.
The Shadow spoke as he slowly flew over and united his hands with its soul-draining essence.
You're all too damn optimistic.
The monster boasted as he reached down, preparing to absorb Void's soul. However, before that could happen, T suddenly appeared alongside the two other Voids as well as Jida, entering the scene through a portal jump. Before the monster could react, the three Voids tackled the beast and sent them crashing through one of Void's now opening portals. Leaving the others to battle on, Jida stopped mid-leap, turned, and gazed upon Void, who was weakly drifting within the red space, bleeding out in a world of hurt. Blue! She shouted before swimming over to his injured soul.
Freckles.
Void weakly called as he reached out with a shaking hand and retracted battle mask. Blue! Blue, I'm here! Oh god. Oh my god! Jida gasped as she assessed the damage. Oh my god, no! No. She wearily stated while placing a hand over his stabbed open wounds.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it?
Void asked as his vision began to blur from strain. 11? No, 15. Bad. Hang on. Jida exclaimed as she reached for her husband's body that was now slowly beginning to lose color, the same way he had when passing in Ophis. Blue? Honey, for the love of God, don't make me cry into your wounds again. Jida snapped, leaving Void to chuckle through the pain.
Not sure if that'll work a second time, love.
Void replied as he tried to self-heal, but failed to do so. The damage was vast. Too much, in fact. Too much to just naturally heal. They were all lethal and charged with the Shadow's purple energy.
Well, on the bright side, I think I can hold on for a bit longer than last time. But the bad news, this is so much worse than last time.
Void groaned as Jida held onto his face with a tensed and worried stare. Hang on. I'm gonna get you out of here. We're not repeating this bullshit again. Jida barked as she went to activate Void's portal opener. Yet, as she raised his hand, his limb accidentally smashed itself into a shard of mirror space glass, causing a bolt of red energy to strike his already electrical current-filled body. Once the zap came, a red shine emanated, in turn, suddenly healing Void's arm over to both their shocks. Whoa! Jida shouted in disbelief as the blue currents within Void's limb suddenly changed to a shade of hot, pinkish red. What the hell? Void asked in sudden shock as he raised his hand and examined his arm, watching as his blues turned the red and whites to a dark coal gray. What in Tira's name? The spark asked again as his arm activated and spoke aloud. Alert! Body system updated. New power source fully adapted. It said, as Void's now visible metal heart bloomed with a red shade through the stab marks in his chest. Assessing new energy information. Unknown cosmic power adapting to both mirror space and reality travel essence. Early detections indicate that this energy can both boost your natural powers as well as other factors, weapons, magic, healing, and more. Come back soon for updated information, as we are still processing this new form. Blinking in stunned silence, Void eyed his chest, watching and feeling as the red electricity continued to engulf his soul. The same red energy that had both only been covering him since breaking into reflective worlds, but the essence that covered him when he tried the Pride J's warp portal open from when he almost trapped Atlas. Healing boost. Void asked as he turned and set his sights upon a large shard of reality glass, buzzing and burning with ruby red essence. Following his gaze, Jida eyed the item and then looked back down the Void, who stared right back with a stern stare. I have an idea, but you gotta bear with me, Void said while weakly pointing at the shard. Think you can maybe stab that energy shard in my chest? Void inquired, leaving Jida perplexed. I beg your pardon? She asked while Void repeated. Can you take that shard and stab it right here? Void demanded as he pointed towards his beating metal heart. You can't be serious, Jida asked as she projectile warped the shard of mirror space glass to her hand. That energy. Every time I broke open the mirror space shards, when I tried to save Jay that one time, that power, it always collected into my heart. I never wondered why, but Void stated before locking his eyes with Jida's. Maybe it's because I'm different? I don't know. But if my systems detects that I can get an energy boost from this, then by all means strike it in the source, Void weakly demanded as he pried open his shattered chest to reveal his beating heart. Blue, what if this... Jida asked as she looked at her reflection within the shard's glassy exterior. I don't care if it hurts. I don't care if I scream. Hun, I will not leave our son. Just do it fast so the pain isn't as bad, Void stated as Jida stared with worried eyes. What if it kills you? What if I... Jida stuttered, leaving Void the glare with an oddly positive stare. This won't do me in. My soul is telling me otherwise, Void assured with a weak smile as his heart glimmered with its newly adapted red shade. Looking down from her husband and then back at the shard of power, Jida took in a long breath and closed her eyes, trying to find the strength to possibly harm her husband. Come on, Phantom. Let's get this over with and help the others. Looking back up, Jida gave a small wince and smile. The confidence in Void's eyes suddenly gave her some well-needed faith in that moment, even if it would involve some painful attributes. Aye, Blue Bullet, Jida replied as she took hold of the shard in both hands, locked her eyes with Void's blue stare, took a breath, and at last, plunged the shard down. As the glass shattered in the Void's heart, a massive gust of power ignited out of his body in a beautiful fury. Blooming to life, Void's body shimmered through all of his panel lines, starting off as a powerful blue shine that suddenly shifted into a purple, and then at last, a hot pink shade of red. Yelling with a mix of pain and power, Void's body instantly began to heal over as some physical changes suddenly took form. The whites on his clothes changed to a coal black color, while the tiny seam lines on the sides of his chest, around his arms and neck, suddenly expanded open, creating larger seams that beamed with his new powerful red essence. Void's arms then grew into bulkier shapes, with the roofs of them transforming into glassy hot red energy glows, akin to the outlines around his chest. His abdomen then slimmed inwards, creating a more fit and muscular shaped metal chest, the Spark equivalent to having a strong upper chest and a six-pack in human terms of muscles. The swirly blue veins within Void's head had even snapped into more straightened and lightning bolt shapes, as his eyes glimmered the light with a newfound color. From this energy explosion, Jada herself was caught in its stream. From the blowback, her hair beads shattered apart, dropping her bun into a lock of swaying long hair. Wincing, her orange hue suddenly shifted into a purple shade of cosmic fire, as his reality-breaking energy was adapted into her essence as well. Her gray cloak turned into a lavender shade of space, while her scarf and shoes reverted into a bright white. Swirls of space went up and down her arms and leg patches, as a pair of starry lines stretched up and down from her eyes, then to her cheeks. Now staring at one another with a set of red and purple stares, the married pair took in a sharp breath and took in the last of the energy influx. For their bodies and their abilities had now been evolved, forever changed into something truly remarkable. Back in Neo Salvaheim, the three reflections alongside Tiger continued the fight, while both Joby and Pofnu slowly dealt with their healing process. Now outside the mansion walls, they all fought upon a fancy, fake garden front that was about the size of a gymnasium. Leaping upwards and summoning a ghostly orange-crested blade, Tiger slashed downwards upon the Shadow, who swiftly turned and caught the weapon within his hands. Locking their eyes, Tiger held the look of both worry yet concern. Like Novasun, her soul essence allowed her to sense the things natural beings couldn't. And right now, she could feel a light inside the monster's soul, one that was shouting through the cold. Void? The Spectre asked, causing a flicker of green wonder to buzz within the purple visor eye.
No, I'm something more.
The Shadow called before charging his eyes and blasting Tiger away in a sharp yelp.
Hey! Mr. Hyde!
Turning around, the Shadow only caught the sight of T running back upon him. His energy had turned into a bright blue, even changing his beard into a glowing form of late middle-aged power. Growling and flapping his wings, the monster launched forwards and then clapped the fleshy flight givers upon T's body, who quickly stumbled from its impact.
You're getting too old for this.
Raising a hand, the Shadow summoned forth several strands of dark matter that quickly entangled and sent T down on his knees, looking akin to a chained-up gladiator. From behind him again, the monster heard the sound of Vivian's Frostbiter activating and firing. Whirling around, he summoned a purple Novaroon twinged with dark matter. Recalling on how he was beaten last time, the monster let the spell freeze before Vivian could act. He turned like a baseball pitcher and threw it back at her, exploding the spark into an entangled mess of nasty vines. Without even having to look, the beast caught the sensation of glowing yellow rushing in from the other side, looking to now have a spear ready to strike. With a yawn, the Shadow split his wings apart into three long-armed hands, and shot the center of which towards Vode. As it approached, the palm split into a flower-petaled shape that instantly latched around the yellow spark in a tight restraint, leaving him to struggle and drop his spear. Reaching out his other two arms, the monster took hold of T and Vivian, while Tiger, Pofnu, and Joby watched from the injured sidelines. Now raising them up into the air like mere weaklings, the Shadow grumbled within a deep sensation before speaking anew.
I tried to go easy on you for the first two meetings, but I am truly satisfied with each outcome. Look what we have now.
The monster croaked as purple energy buzzed and shined off his body.
A spectral enhanced matter birth. A spark gifted with cosmic frost. And a brilliant mind. With your souls fused with mine, your combined gifts will let me reach new potentials. Yes.
Tightening his grip, the Shadow ignited the three massive hands and began to drain all three variants, who struggled and quickly fell to numb stillness.
For years I have conquered, controlled, pulled the strings to get what I want. But with you four reflections mixed with this one, I can become something so much more.
The monster went on, as darker shades began to pulsate with blues, pinks, and yellows within his body.
I can become what I was truly destined to be. What I was created to be. A king. No. An emperor of the dark.
Growing weak, the reflections did their best to fight back, to go on, but it once again felt as though their lives were coming to a sudden and sad end. That was until... Shooting out through the fabric of reality, a bright and electrified energy arrow broke the barrier from behind and went right through the dark reflection's shoulder. Shouting, the beast actually stumbled in pain, which let the three reflections drop to the ground and roll off to the side. Red electricity buzzed and burned over his wound, leaving the creature to whirl around with a snarl. Following his gaze, everyone else took in the sight of a small red hole that was shattered into the fabric of reality. Cracks of broken space glass stretched up and around the shattered piece, leaving everyone a tad perplexed as to what this had been. Yet it was then they heard it. Blasting through the crack in reality, both Void and Jida land to the ground and charge forwards, sprinting with newfound energy in their evolved forms. They were both glowing bright, beaming with their new red and purple shades. Void's entire body sparked and shined with sharp bolts of pollen red essence, while Jida's constellations shimmered and fizzled with a newfound purple variant of cosmic fire. With a snarl, Void summoned a surge of his newfound power to his hands. Throwing them down, he released several red rings that bounced them upwards through the air. Getting above the fallen monster, the spark suddenly clasped his boots together and began to spin his lower torso around, creating a new form of his drill attack. At landfall, it created a large surge that sent the beast off his feet and flying through the air. Leaping over her husband and using his bouncy head as an extra boost, Jida lunged towards the monster, clapped her hands together, and unleashed a massive blast of fire that took the form of a dragon's head, striking the monster back down in a screaming hump to the floor.
What the?
Void asked. Is that? Vivian exclaimed, while T suddenly smiled with the look of an excited child. Holy shit, that's Novason and Jida! He called as the merry pair advanced on the monster. Focusing on their newfound energy, Void slid to a stop and summoned 2 Nova runes to his hands, which were now larger and blooming with rose-colored shades. With a huff, he threw them out and revealed that they were now connected to energized chains. Flinging them around, he clashed their burning forms into the chin of the fallen monster, sending him sprawling backwards once again. With her flowing hair boosting on with waves of melting speed, Jida charged herself up and blasted forwards, delivering her signature kick to the shadow, which was now gifted with cosmic purple power flares. Getting struck into the side of his face, the monster stumbled again and tried to find his footing, but the merry pair had already thrown him off with their powers he hadn't been prepared to deal with.
What? How did you?
He boasted as Void rose his arms back and summoned 2 newly adapted mirror space blades from his arms, replacing his Nova ones. Stabbing them to the ground, he created a sudden rise of red spikes that once again threw the beast back, leaving Jai to slide in, unhook a newly purple painted guitar, and strum its broken string form. From it, a blast of purple flame music notes struck the shadow, wearing him down to an even more weakened state. My god, they've changed! Tiger groaned, while both Jovi and Paufu stumbled to the front door's open view, watching in stunned disbelief as their parents' new red and purple forms took the beast head-on. Deploying her helmet, Vivian scanned the both of them before exclaiming, "Their powers have increased by 30%. How did that happen?" She asked as the two gave their last round of blows to the losing foe. "Jida!" Void called as he reached a hand out for hers. Nodding, she took it and went along with whatever Void's plan had been. Now taking her by the other hand, the spark suddenly began to twirl and spin the two of them around, going faster and faster before suddenly turning into a red and purple energy twister. Before the monster could find a way to fight back, he was suddenly entangled into its power stream. Rising up and being dragged around, he was tossed both up and down, shocked and burned with a mixture of blowback, until last being let go. Flying backwards, the monster spiraled through the air and then crashed, landing hard into a fountain within the center of the front yard. Slumping down, the fallen void groaned and sparked as he now rested within the water, having broken metal land and clank upon him as well. Disengaging their spin, the married pair leapt forwards and landed before the monster, glaring upon him with glowing red and purple eyes, as he stared back with a flashing purple stare. Slowly approaching from behind, the others too rested their sights upon the beast, all severely injured, some angry, but others curious. All the shadows stared back in a slowly passing out manner. Before darkness took hold, his visor screen flashed back to the void's natural green eyes. Eyes that were pleading for either death or help. Eyes that suddenly faded to deep sleep. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's take him out! Joby boasted while activating an arm blade. No! Void shouted with a glowing red arm raised up. No. When we went to Vivian's world, he attacked us again, but before we escaped, he begged. No, someone else begged for us to kill him. A different voice, a different soul. Void revealed as red currents buzzed up and down his new body that everyone found rather intriguing. There's something going on with him. Something we need to look into. Behind this monster, whatever it is, I think there's a scared reflection. A reflection who may need some help. Void went on as Jida eyed him in a curious stare. Void, do you have a workshop or something like that? Void asked with a concerned tone to his reflection. I have a lab in my basement if that works. Nodding, Void turned back, reached down, and began to hoist the unconscious reflection up. Even better. Help me carry him. Void asked, as he and Vivian went to immediately help. Father, you can't be serious. Pavnu asked, as the others went down to help. Honey, you of all people should know when to sense something's off with the soul. Now help us out here. Void asked, as Void activated a portal. I've got a bad feeling about this, Joby stated, as she and everyone else lifted the fallen Void up and began marching to the portal. Clamping both his arms as well as his legs down through electrical restraints, the fallen Void's unconscious body was slowly lifted at an upwards angle upon an operating table. Standing together, Void, Vivian, and T all eyed the strange and nasty variant down as they now stood within a white, glowing metal lab. Off to the side, both Void and Jida were being examined by Pavnu and Tiger, while a few medical bots tended to Joby's nearly healed stab wound. If she hadn't been fully made of light matter, she would have died. Strange. I'm sensing a change of energy within you both. It's almost identical to Jay's. Pavnu stated as she ran her paws over Void's and Jida's heads. How is that possible? The now red-shaded spark asked as Void approached them with some data scanners. It appears that you both were already naturally in tune with some oddities. Jida already had her DNA changed through some cosmic fire, while you, Void, this unknown cosmic electricity as you call it. If I were to take a guess, because of your constant travels in the realms where you weren't meant to go, it more than likely caused a shift with your already bent genetic structures. Void stated while crossing his bulky arms. English, please? Tiger asked while eyeing the now red and purple glowing counterparts. Their biological structures were already teetering upon change. By breaking into our realities, it appears that the energy you both took in sped up the process in your evolution. Hence why you both felt pain when breaking the glass. Void explained as he gave a stern stare. These forms aren't anything to be concerned about. These appeared to be an inevitable change that should have evolved over years from now. But because of your actions in breaking through the other realms, you have both forcefully changed your souls into stronger forms. It appears you have both evolved. Void revealed as Void and Jida eyed one another. Wait. So, because we were forcing our ways into the mirror space's confines, its energy bounced back and changed our genetic makeup? Is that what I'm getting at here? Void asked with a raised eyebrow. Indeed. You are both in tune with the ability to leap between realms. The mirror space sensed that, latched onto that as you, well, for the lack of a better term, attacked it. You honestly may now have the abilities to leap between worlds without even having to open portals. Looking on with stunned silence, Void stared down and activated both his mirror space blades. They were longer, sharper, looking more like katanas than big bulky swords. They were like the Fallen Void's weapons, except more natural looking. I see. Not sure how I feel about the red though. Blue's sort of always been my thing. Void stated as he retracted his blades. Well, I don't see a problem in the slightest. Red. Jida said with a lovey-dovey tone as she gawked upon Void's new and strong build, especially his bulked up chest that left her in a blushing and giggly mood. Smiling and rolling his eyes, Void stood, pat himself down, and approached the beast that now lay limp on the table, curious to see what his whole deal was. What the? Jida, come look at these. He asked Tiger as he pointed towards the monster's neck, taking note of the orange and checkered patterned scarves. That looks like your scarf, and that black and white one. It's... no way. The Matterburf said as he gazed upon him with widened eyes. What is it? Void asked as he and the others approached the limp being. Doesn't that crystal belong to a friend of yours, dear? Tiger questioned while pointing to the green glowing crystal dangling from the monster's left hand. And that purple and brown sweater around his waist. The spirit went on as the others looked with confused stares. You guys familiar with these items? Vivian asked while crossing her arms. Yes. These belong to some of my friends. They're still alive in me and Tiger's universe, but these are... T revealed as he gently rose the crusted sweater around the monster's waist, taking note of a familiar symbol that a good friend would always wear. What happened to them in his world? The Matterburf asked as Pofnu raised her hand and began to get a sense for who the monster was. Strange, she said as she twirled and turned her hand with a spectral essence. What's the hell? She then asked, leaving everyone to turn and stare. What is it? Jida asked, as Pofnu's fur began to shimmer a pink red. I'm sensing something unexpected. There appears to be four souls within this void. Pofnu revealed as the masked monster remained still. 4? Tiger asked as Pofnu disengaged her spell. One of light, one of overbearing dark, and two small, fragile souls, overshadowed by the other two. Blinking with stunned eyes, everyone looked from the fox and then back at the giant metal spark, who looked akin to a rusted-over toy from the 80s. As they did, they all heard the sound again, the sound of the beating sensation from within his chest. Open his chest, Void commanded as he eyed the red glow within the shattered Matterburf's broken crest. Open his chest? Joby asked as the spark stared with booming eyes. Open his chest, Void repeated while now eyeing two of the nurse bots. Nodding their heads, the both of them approached with their clawed hands, examined the patient, and took hold of his metal exteriors. With one click and crusty yank, the two cracked the metal slab open with a natural door swinging shift that slowly opened the monster up. revealing one of the most disgusting sights anyone in the room had ever seen. Oh my god! Jada gagged as a rotten stench filled the room, with added steam leaving the Void's chest. Oh, what on matter? He asked as everyone eyed a fleshy, grotesque, massive, beating, black and red glowing heart, wrapped around Void's servos, skeleton, and organ structure, looking akin to a monstrous leech from a horror film. What the fuck? Vivian whispered as a wave of confusion washed over the room, up until Vode spoke up.
No way. It's a dark matter heart,
he stated, leaving everyone to turn their heads. What? Most of them asked as Vode stared with a nervous gaze upon the fleshy organ.
The dark heart. I've only read about these in stories. Stories from other worlds and bypassing reflections,
Vode stated as he looked over and stared at its fleshy form that wriggled and bulged with red pus. What's a dark heart? He asked as Vode raised a hand to his chin.
From what I can recall, it is a rare thing within realities, but only in a select few. These items are designed to pump matter in the stabilized balance. There's also a light heart, but how did this one end up in him?
Vode asked as everyone stared with baffled eyes. Wait, so it's like a less sentient matter birth? Tiger asked, leaving Vode to shake his head.
No. Matter births were born to keep the balance of the light and dark in check. In some realities, they were also made to keep these things in line. They are very sentient, conscious, aware. Whoever this Void is, he somehow got this thing stuck in his chest and
got taken over? Void finished as he eyed the nasty glob of flesh pulsating and beating. Wait. So what I'm gathering is that this thing is not only alive, but controlling this guy? How the hell did that happen? Joby asked before suddenly getting her answer.
It's my fault.
Whirling around with loud gasps, everyone within the room eyed the fallen Void, who was now looking up with gentle green eyes. Retracting his mask, the fallen Matterbirth revealed a scarred yet kind face to all those within the room. He looked tired, scared, and sad. This wasn't the monster everyone realized. This was a real man behind the mask, the puppet on strings.
I never intended any of this to happen. I never wanted this,
he said in a cold voice as everyone reapproached in gentle steps.
Hey, are you okay? Are you alright? What's your name?
Void asked with concern to his reflection as he looked to wince in pain.
I'm V the Matterbirth. Look, I don't know how much time I have before he takes back over, but this is what he's made me do to so many innocent reflections.
V said before Void spoke up again.
Who takes back over? The heart? What happened to you? How can we help?
Eyeing him down, small tears streamed down the sides of V's face before revealing a bombshell upon everyone.
Yes, the Dark Heart. He calls himself Lotus.
It was as though the air got sucked out of the room. The Novasons' faces all fell to stunned silence, while the others looked on in confusion. A Lotus reflection? Void asked inside. A dark matter Lotus? How could that be? Was it a twist of fate? Of all the things, he said within, before the poor soul continued to speak.
Years ago, me, my friends, and my family, we were attacked by neo-ameliorites. They beat us to a pulp
and extracted our DNA to awaken this thing in my chest. With it, they awoke the monster's true form and sent me and my allies back into a war that we had once thought to have been won. The soul stated, before continuing on with his tale. Lotus. He started everything in my universe. The Matter War. Every attack and foil my life, pulling the strings to take over my multiverse as some sick conductor from the shadows. He turned my brother core evil. His war killed my Chida. He ruined my life without myself even realizing it. Clenching his hands, tears spilled from the Fallen's eyes as he went on. In the final battle of this new war, me and my friends all took on the monster, but found that he couldn't be beaten. You can't kill a natural system. You cannot kill dark matter. You cannot kill the leader of it, the creator, He went on, beginning to sob. You can't kill a shadow. So to try and stop his madness, I figured that since I was a matter birth, I could control the heart. As he was down, I absorbed the item into my chest in an attempt to save the ones I love and the world I cared about. The matter birth revealed, before hanging his head low, letting his tears hit the floor. How foolish I was to think it so. Within moments, Lotus took control over my body, wriggling his way into my servos, my limbs, my flesh and bone. I wasn't strong enough. I couldn't stop him from taking over. V expressed in sorrow as he clenched his hands in dismay. He took over my whole being, used me, controlled me as a puppet. He forced me to kill my friends, my family, and even my children. My Jane, my Jovi, my little angels, Gasping, Jada covered her mouth as everyone else stared with remorse upon this reflection. This monster who in truth was a shattered soul. After making me commit these unspeakable acts, he transformed my reality into a dark matter-infested wasteland, winning the war we stopped so long ago. But he wasn't done there. He grew hungry for more power. Using me, he's been traveling the several worlds to intake other voids' essences, to make me his vessel and ultimate weapon of mass destruction. All as a means to take on bigger, more energy-induced worlds. He will stop at nothing until everything in existence is part of his hive mind. Hence why he's been so determined to hunt you all down. With your powers combined, he can become a god. Looking back up with pleading eyes, he glared upon everyone with the look of someone who just wanted to die. It was heartbreaking. Truly heartbreaking. You have to kill me. If I die, he'll die too. Please, just put me out of this misery. If he makes me kill another Jida, Joby, or Jay, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. With a burning stare, Void and the others approached, with him to be the first, shaking his head. No, we're gonna find a way to get this bastard out of you, he stated while placing a hand to his green reflection's shoulder. Yeah, we're gonna help you out, kid. This isn't where your story ends, T expressed as the medical bots got ready to operate. No, you don't understand. He's replaced my heart. There's no other... Screaming in pain, the fallen Void's head swung back. His green eyes closed over into a dark purple shade as the Lotus heart exploded the life with a scream. Appearing on its front and meat chunk, emerged a pulsating fleshy eye that stared at everyone within the room, giving them all terrible scares. Get back! Bode screamed as the fallen Void began to shake and tug at his restraints. Oh god! Oh god! Jida choked out with fear as the monster within V's chest then began to forcefully break his limbs in order to get out of his restraints. Atira's might! T called as the beast, looking like a crumpled mess, yanked itself free with a bone-shattering sound. Now, fusing itself back together, he suddenly stood and roared with an energy pulse. Being flung backwards, Void and the rest all watched in shock as the reflection slashed open a portal and jumped through, leaving everyone in absolute disbelief.
No! No! V! Lotus!
Void shouted in rage for his reflection as he suddenly stood, charged, and leapt in after the soul. Void! Jaida called as she stood as well and leapt after him.
Oh, shit!
Joby stated as both her and Pavnu followed right after. As this happened, the remaining reflections eyed each other down, nodded, and followed suit, chasing after their fallen counterpart and following him to who knew where in the Omniverse. This was now more than just an enemy. This was a soul that needed help. A void that needed to be saved. A fallen angel that deserved to fly once again.